Hi, Jim. Thanks for doing this. Just wondering from your perspective what the past few days have been like here with, obviously your players making it clear that they wanted a couple more days before returning, and the conversations you've had with both the league and the PA that led to the schedule being changed.
Yeah, so in dealing with all of this, there's been constant communication between Dr. Bovard, the PA doctor, and the league doctor about first and foremost following the protocols, and that was the 10th day they do the EKGs and their blood tests, and then they can start physical activity. So as they were going through that, the players, as they coming back and started working out, we're dealing with a different kind of COVID. The P1 variant is different. We didn't know what to expect. So in talking, through it with everybody, and the doctors had a big say in that, our players, as they started coming back and working out, and and then the constant communication, they were, having some symptoms that were maybe different than the regular COVID, and it took them, a little bit longer to get up and going, and I think that was relayed in JT's message, and then in conversations with the league and the PA doctor, Dr. Bovard did like an assessment on each player individually again, talked to the league, talked to the PA, and and then just decided that it wasn't in the players' best interests, or they weren't healthy enough to play the game Friday night. So and then through all that, the game got canceled Friday, Saturday, and so we'll start back up here Sunday. Our guys seem like they're feeling better every day. They're on the ice now skating, and we're just going to have to continue to monitor their symptoms and get them through all this.
I know things can change a lot in a couple of days here, but do you have an idea of what your roster could look like on Sunday? How representative it might be of, the roster that you had before you went into this situation with COVID, and how many of your regulars might not be ready to return for the first game?
Yeah, well, we're working through all that right now. The guys skated kind of as a team yesterday for the first time. There was a few more guys that joined the group today. Some guys have felt okay. Some guys have felt good. And then there's been probably 3 guys, I would say right now, that are still, don't feel well enough to start practicing and working out. So, but I would think we would have the majority of our guys available, probably, minus 3 or 4 guys.
We'll go now to Ian McIntyre.
Hi, Jim. I know that there's also obviously 3 members of your coaching staff who had the virus as well, including Travis Green. Do you know if you're going to have all your coaches back, or can you just update us on how that situation is?
Well, that's a fluid situation, Ian. Travis is feeling better every day. He hopes to be behind the bench when we start back up again, and he's going to do everything in his power to do that. He hasn't been on the ice yet. He's talking about getting on the ice tomorrow and running practice. So we hope that he's going to be available for us to coach. And then the other guys, like Balmer and Kinger, they ended up not getting it. So they've been running all the practices to date so far. But I think, we should, by the time, we get going here Sunday, I'm hoping that all the coaches are back.
You're in a difficult position, it seems, as a GM, because you're responsible for running this organization. You're answerable to an owner, but you're also in charge of all these players, all these human beings. From an emotional standpoint, how difficult has this been to you to try to balance those 2 aspects of your job, the business and the players?
Well, it's, like when my conversations with Francesco, it's always been about the health and, welfare of our players and their families first and foremost. And, that's the type of owner that he is. He wants to make sure that, it was safe for everybody before we got back. And, and in our conversations with the league, I think, that's what we're worried about is making sure our players feel 100%, to get back and start practicing and working out and then to play. So the league's worked with us on our schedule here, and they're going to be, I don't know if it's already out yet, but they're going to be announcing our schedule here for the rest of the year. And, I think, we're going to have a lot of games in a short period of time, but, we started the season playing 19 games in 34 nights. So that wasn't easy. So, everything about, this whole year and dealing with COVID and playing through a pandemic has been hard, but, we'll just do our best and we get our players back and they're healthy and we'll go from there.
Great. Next up is Patrick Johnston.
Jim, normally, obviously, the media is allowed to watch practice, but you guys have said you can't be there today and tomorrow. Can you give us the rationale why?
Yeah, these players have dealt with sickness. Some of them haven't been on the ice for 3 weeks. They're getting back skating, for the first time. The reason why we kept the doors closed today is we wanted to give them some privacy. We don't want them to be judged here coming back here and practicing and how they practice, or if a guy has a good practice but he's not going to be available to play for a couple of weeks. So we thought, in the spirit of trying to do the right thing for the players, that was the right thing to do.
As the players were dealing with their infections over the last few weeks, I mean, what kind of updates were you getting? Were you hearing from them directly? Was it sort of a daily basis, or how were you keeping track of those things?
Well, John Sanderson and would update me like 3 times a day on the players, how they were feeling. When JT Miller voiced his concerns, I was in constant communication with Paul Horvat and with the doctors and the PA doctors in the league to try to figure out how we were going to make this work so the players would feel comfortable getting back, getting on the ice, skating, and getting ready to play games again. So we've been in constant communication. I think what we did learn is and Dr. Bovard talked to some other team doctors around the league that have kind of gone through this. What was different with our situation is with the regular COVID, it seemed like after 10 days, players, were ready to get back on the ice and start working out and performing. But we still had players that when they did that, they still had symptoms. And I think that was the difference between what we're dealing with and what other teams have dealt with the regular COVID.
Next is Jay Janauer.
Jim, what's a realistic expectation for this hockey club? I know Bo talked about the fact that you guys want to win games. We understand the professional athlete's mentality, but we've also seen how the Dallas Stars have basically changed the way that they're playing. Philadelphia's put up a valiant effort. Buffalo's had their issues. What's realistic, Jim, with having so many guys go through this with your schedule? What's realistic for you guys?
I can't answer that question right now, Jay. Like it's, we just been dealing with, our players getting healthy, getting back on the ice. I guess it's going to depend. We haven't played now, and it'll be 25 days since we played our last game. We've skated, we'll end up skating like 3 times here before we play a game, but we've had 2 other practices along the way. So, it's going to depend on how the players feel. I know they're excited to get back playing again, but we'll just see how the players feel and then how they perform. And, that's a question that time will answer, but I can't answer that right now.
Jim, when we spoke to Travis last time a couple of weeks ago, he told us that, Elias was kind of getting better, but he wasn't sure where the injury was at. You told us earlier in the week that he was going to see the specialist. Bring us up to date on where Elias is, and are we going to be able to see him in action sooner than later?
Yeah, so he went and seen the specialist on Wednesday. he's going to continue to rehab his injury. He's on the ice skating now and stuff. He's going to continue to rehab, but we don't have a timeline yet as to when he's going to be back, if he's going to be back at all. So, he'll continue to do what he can do. And, when he keeps visiting the specialist here in his next appointment, then he'll let him know where he's at. But as of right now, I was hopeful that maybe he could come back, but after the visit on Wednesday, he's going to be a little bit longer yet.
Next up is Gemma Karsten-Smith.
Hi, Jim. I'm wondering if you can update for us how many people within the organization tested positive. The last we heard, it was 21 players and 4 members of coaching staff. I'm wondering if there was any changes to those numbers.
I think the only change is we've had one more coaching staff member test positive. And as far as the players are concerned, we had a false positive with one of the players, but no more players have tested positive, or coaches.
Okay, and I'm wondering if you can tell us what you've learned through all of this. It's obviously been such a difficult situation for everyone. What have you learned?
Well, I think, this is to be taken seriously, like, with masking up, social distancing, washing your hands, and our people, they stayed right on top of it. Like when I'd go down to the dressing room, everybody wore their masks, but it's still entered into our facility, and it got all of our players really sick. And these are world-class athletes that we're talking about, and some of them were buckled, getting through this virus. So, in this whole thing, there's, like Dr. Bovard said the other day, like there's no pointing fingers. There's, the virus is the reason that, we've had to deal with all of this. And it's been hard. It hasn't been easy, but, we've tried to do everything the right way along the way, yet we still got it. So, it's, and then dealing with a different a variant, where, we've tried to learn about what the players would feel like when they started coming back, but, our players had different symptoms, and that's why, we couldn't get back as fast as maybe other teams could, because we're dealing with something different. So it's been a learning experience for all of us. And I think Dr. Bovart and John Sanderson, our head trainer, they've done excellent work, working with the players and working with the PA doctors and working with the league. And, and so they've done a really good job.
Okay, next up is Thomas Drance.
Jim, as you've gone through this over the past 2 weeks, is there anything you can tell us about the support yourself and your organization was able to offer to some of these players and their families who've unfortunately tested positive?
Yeah, well, we've been in constant communication, because that's the other thing is a lot of the family members wives and kids ended up testing positive through all this. And, I think, for the players to get it was one thing, but then, when they're dealing with family members too, it just made it really hard. So, we've tried to support the players and their families through all of this and get them through all this. And I'm hoping now that we're kind of on the other side of it and we can keep moving forward.
Jim, it's been reported that Jack Rathbone is on his way to Vancouver. Are you able to confirm that? And in the event that you do see some young players get into your lineup, is this going to be a tough environment to evaluate where players are at, considering the density of the schedule and what your team's been through?
Well, we're going to have a lot of players, moving. We don't know yet, who's going to be able to play when they start playing. We have a condensed schedule, how they're feeling. So we want to, make sure that we have enough guys around where we can switch guys in and out, so our players don't, get overtaxed with the schedule. And, it'll be an opportunity for some young guys to get in the lineup here from now to the end of the year. And we'll see what they can do.
Okay, next up is Karen Larson.
Hi, thanks very much, Jim. You said earlier the P1 variant had, so that's confirmed now. Before it hadn't been confirmed.
Yeah, it's been confirmed that they did a genetic testing, and then that's what we're dealing with.
And on the schedule, there's some games listed at the end as to be determined. Are the Canucks going to finish out a full 56 games?
That's the time. I think the time to be determined. The games are, we have a schedule. The plan is to play all 56 games. I think when it says to be determined, they're talking about the time of the games.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll take our last question here from Jeff Patterson.
Hey, Jim, I just want to follow up on Thomas's question about the youth movement. When we talked mid-season, you agreed that the organization wanted to get Mikey DiPietro some game action. Not knowing how your two NHL goaltenders have come through all of this, is there a plan in place for Mike DiPietro here over these final 19 games? Will we see him in the NHL?
Well, Jeff, like we're dealing with getting through, this variant right now, and we don't know. I don't know. We have a goalie that's maybe not feeling 100% yet. So we're just taking this day by day. There's a chance that Mike might be playing games for us here, going forward here. So we don't know that. I can't answer that today, but, we'll continue to, work with our players and, and their health. And when they're ready to play, they're going to play. But I would say that there's a chance that he could get games up here rather than anywhere else.
And finally, there was a lot of noise around Jay Beagle's immediate future, long-term future, his injury situation. People don't talk a lot about Jay Beagle, but where is he in terms of readiness to play the rest of the season?
Yeah, so he's dealing with an injury, and he's seen the specialist, and I think rehabbing and stuff. I don't have a timeline as to when, he's going to be available to play or not. He'll continue to, do what he can do. And I know, knowing Jay, he wants to get back and get playing. But I think, as he works with the doctors, they'll give him the green light when he's, healthy and safe to come back and play, and then he'll play.